Okay, we're live. Week 5. I'm Mark, your host, coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. This is a little out of the ordinary, us doing a show on, or me doing a show on a Wednesday night. Normally, we're on Tuesday night, but last night we had things going on. We had chicken processing today, so we had a lot of people showing up. And then there was an automotive thing that happened. Oh, it's a good time for me to plug Spears. Jim was in town in his truck, my son Jim, and it died on him. And so somebody went to avoid him and wound up hitting another car. So it wound up being a car accident. Nobody was hurt. None of our people were hurt. But that happened, and Jill had to leave to go rescue them. And so I was here taking in chickens. So we had to put the show on hold. Couldn't possibly do it. I still had people that were going to be showing up with chickens for today. So yeah, it's been a busy summer. We have been 2 days a week chicken processing for quite a few weeks now. And it looks like that's going to last for a while. Right. So that's good. It's good. It uses up quite a bit of our manpower, but it pays well, so we do what we got to do. It's not like we relish the thought of, ooh, I can't wait to butcher chickens tomorrow, but it's what we got to do to make things work. And that's part of what I want to talk about tonight, because I do struggle a bit as a human being with the farm operation as far as doing what I want to do and prioritizing things. And a lot of times I think, I would like to be doing this today, but we've got chickens today. So we're working for other people, and we put our time and our expertise and our equipment to work in an exchange for their dollars. And you cannot complain. It's a dirty job. It's not a fun job. But we have it kind of compartmentalized now to where everybody has their own place, and it goes by quite quickly. Before you know it, it's lunchtime. Boom. And then after lunch, packing up. Before you know it, it's 5 o'clock and people are showing to pick up. Right. And it goes by pretty quick. And we've made adjustments over the years to make it have a hard start and a hard finish. And for anybody out there that is thinking about doing this or anything else, I can tell you that one of the biggest things that we did was we said, you have to bring your chickens the night before between 5 and 7. And I'm seriously thinking about saying between 5 and 6. Because we have to have somebody here to receive the chickens and help with the paperwork and help them unload or whatever. So there's 2 hours right there. And like last night, a guy didn't show up here till 8:30, even though he'd been told 7. So he's an hour and a half late. And I said, are you going to be able to come on time tomorrow? And he said, well, I should be. And I said, no, I can't do should. When 7 o'clock rolls around tomorrow night, I want to be done for the day. I get about an hour break, and then I have something else that I need to do. So that's helped out a lot. We've kind of pared it down so we don't have people saying, well, I can't be there till 10:30 at night. And we used to have a lady that did that all the time. And then 10:30 wound up being 11:45. And not good. And when we finally said, nope, can't do it, she quit us and she went someplace else, which is fine. So, we've made changes in that area to make it more conducive to a good work life and family life and things like that. And I think that's a good thing to know. That's a good thing to do, offer a service, but don't offer it open-ended. I'll give you another example. This one's kind of cute. We used to do the the Misaki Youth Show. Youth Show is like the 4-H thing. And then Tuesday night, let's say they would have their auction. And so the kids auction off, or somebody auctions off the chickens that the kids have raised. And then they wanted to bring them to us after the auction. And that would be like 9 o'clock at night. And they're like, no. And we're not butchering until, say, Friday. So you're going to have to work something else out. They did not like that. The first few years we said, okay, it's the youth show and we want to be supportive and all that. And it was nice to be supportive, but it's not like we ever got anything out of it. You know, we never got a thing, not even a thank you or a free cigar, you know. So then the problem was that you had all these people who purchased, you know, a pen of 4 chickens, let's say, for big bucks too. They sell them for big bucks. And then they have to come here to pick them up. And we tell them, you have to come here between 5 and 7 to pick them up on this day. We will not keep them overnight, because if we, okay, so then people wouldn't show up, or they'd show up 3 days later, or they'd show Sunday afternoon, you know, and then we have to kind of adjust our life just because they couldn't follow directions. So last year we said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's too disruptive to our family. So we will do the chickens, but then somebody from the youth show needs to come get them all, pay us for the work we've done, and then take them to the fairgrounds, and the people who purchased the chickens can pick them up there. And they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. So I said, well, that's what we're offering. So, and they said, okay, well, we'll take you right off the list. You will be off the list. And I was like, good. Now, we'll never go back on that list. So anyway, I about around here today, first thing that happened this morning was a couple of the steers were out. And I had already decided on this topic yesterday. And I may have done this topic before. I don't recall, but it's a topic that peaks, you know, urgency peaks here for me five times a year. I get in a peak mode or an urgent mode. We got to get stuff done. And yeah, that's a two-sided sword. And so I want to kind of explain it a little bit. And I think maybe I've come to a place that's good for me, and I just want to pass it on because maybe it'll help somebody else. And that's the point of this, is passing stuff on that might help other people in their operations. So this morning, it's 8:30, and I'm still having my coffee out here. Got a little bit of a late start, and not even quite through my cup of coffee. Haven't done my cold plunge yet. Got up a little late because I'm not milking today, so I could afford to do that. And well, yes, I was milking today. What was I thinking? Well, for whatever reason, I was just a little late. And Frank comes ripping up to the house and he says, hey, there's a couple of the steers are out. And I'm thinking, oh no, that's not good, because there's no gate over there. And if they're out, that's not good. So all of a sudden, my cup of coffee and my cold plunge were like right out the window. Like, there's no way I can sit there and say, well, I'm going to finish this cup of coffee, and then I'm going to take my cold plunge, and then I'm going to get dressed and go and figure out what's going on. Nope. Can't do that. You just can't. A sense of urgency kicks in right now because I don't have eyes on it. I don't know what's actually going on. I don't know if it's 2 steers on the outside or 2 steers on the inside. I really don't know. Actually, it was our hired guy that camps out over there, and he said some of the cows are out. So that's what it was. So I went out and there was two of them out, and we got that situation fixed right now. It was fixed really quickly, and it's definitely my fault. I turned the electric fence over there off for Tribe Day, and I thought they're not going to press the fence. There's still plenty of grass out there. Well, what they do is they lean their head over, and they want the grass on the other side of the fence. And so barbed wire will hold them, but when they lean into it slowly and they start eating and they go down, they'll pull it down. And that's what happened. And eventually, two of them just stepped over it and were on the other side where there was a lot more nicer grass. And the rest of them were standing there like, "You're not supposed to be out. Moo. You're not supposed to be out." So we went down. As soon as they saw us, they jumped back through that way. And then all of a sudden, my priorities for the day have changed. So on a Wednesday, the water is going. The hot water for the scalding tank is going. Everything is in place. We're just waiting for the water to come to temp and start time, which is usually about 9, sometimes 8:30, sometimes 9. And all that was ready. Those guys were ready to go. Brian was in. He had already started milking, and I was bottling today. But I had to split my attention between bottling and going over and pulling that fence back up where it belonged, because I really didn't want them to go back through again. And so I brought a bale over to them, and I moved their hay feeder and stuff, and I filled up their water tank, and everything turned out all right. But that all worked in with this idea, this thing that I'm going to talk about, a sense of urgency. Okay, so in the past, in conversations on this platform, we've delved into, or I have delved into, what I consider to be a storm on the horizon. Things that are happening in politics and world economics and things like this, and it all comes together, and we have a tough situation, and now all of a sudden you can't go into a store unless you have a face mask on, something like that, something like that. And you see those things coming, and to me, when those things come is when I perform the best, because I have a sense of urgency to get the things done that need to be done, that are going to be the bare minimums that we need to survive, right? So it's sort of a survivalist mindset. If you can only take a certain amount of equipment and you got to go live in the woods for 30 days, you're probably not going to bring your Game Boy, for instance. Like, that's not going to serve you very well. So you're going to bring the things that you need. So you prioritize what you're going to take and the route you're going to go and things like that. And farming's like that too. Sometimes there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency. It's like, yeah, I got to get that over there. I got to get that finished, but it'll wait. I don't have to do it today. I think I'm just going to relax a little bit, And when I do that, I have a tendency to put stuff on the back burner, and then it becomes a burden to me, and I don't get it done. So this is the dog days of summer here, I guess, and it's hot. It was like 92 degrees here today, and it's sometimes can be a little tough to get motivated over and above what we have to do. Can be. But then something will happen. Something will happen that I didn't expect to have happen. I'll give you an example. Last week, my sister-in-law called and said, "Hey, there's a new person in town. She's the wife of the new youth pastor at the church that they go to. And she's real interested in, homesteading and raw milk and all the stuff. She's a young mom, fits the mold of our herd share people. But she's a pastor's wife and has a lot of contact with people in that church, and it's a big church. And so I think, well, yeah, that deserves my attention. I should cut an hour out, carve out an hour, and be able to show her and my sister-in-law around, and make it a nice experience for them so they understand what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish. So immediately I had a sense of urgency, like, oh, I've got 4 bales that are sitting up by the barn there that I yanked out to get some other ones for a guy that I needed to give some hay to. That looks terrible just sitting right there. I got to get those moved. And I've been thinking that for a long time, but now it's like, well, I don't want people to see that when they come in the property. I want it to look like we're professionals. So I got to get that done. And then I had a sense of urgency about it, and I was able to accomplish a lot of things. Boom, 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 boom. And once I got on that track, I started to think clearer and more precise, and run through in my mind, okay, where are we headed here? What is the end goal of this? This all came after I had an episode like this, probably a week prior. And I said, this raw milk thing is a good deal. If we can expand this to 25, 35 gallons per day going out the door and being paid for, that is going to be a nice place to be. It will cover the majority of our needs here, plus give us enough extra that we can pursue some other building projects and some other processes that we want to get into. And so I said to myself, okay, what do I need here? What do I need? And what I came up with is I need more herd share people. I need more herd share people. And who do I want from my herd share people? Who do I want? Who do I want to see coming up the driveway? And who do I not want to see coming up the driveway? I don't want customers that are going to be a liability to me. And there's, I don't know, we had this conversation, and one of my kids said, well, what difference does it make so long as they pay for it? Yeah, that's true. But do they pick it up on time? Do they bring their jars back every time? Or do I get a bunch of excuses? And excuses to me are kind of a liability. I'm getting to be a little bit of a snob when it comes to the people that I want to associate with. I don't want to do business with people who are potentially a big liability or a flash in the pan. They're gonna, well, we tried it for a couple weeks. We don't want to do it anymore. Okay, well, it tied up a spot that I could have had a person who was going to stay with us for a good period of time. See, and you can usually tell, when someone comes here and they know what they want and they found it and they realize that this is something they want to make part of their life. You kind of know. So the sense of urgency came up because I think there's probably a bunch of people in that church up there that would do the same thing. It's up in Lake City, and we don't have anybody up there. So I kind of said, okay, how are we going to get more people into our herd share? How are we going to do that? And the people that we want. So I had sat down with Jill and I said, you know what we could do? We could just get a billboard right there on 115, right in Cadillac, right in the meat of the area where we want to start doing our deliveries to. And she was kind of, she hemmed and hawed about it. And I wasn't real sure that that was what we wanted to do. But it was something. We got to do something. And then she had an idea, and I guess it's as good as my idea, but it was to get those little card holders and then create a new card, a new business card that is centered on herd shares. Because raw milk's a big deal right now. So she got right on that, and the card holder showed up here today in the mail, and I guess the cards are going to show up on Monday. So that's going to happen. But still, that contact with people is very important, I think, too. If you show somebody around and then you explain to them how stuff fits together on a farm like this, and they see people working, and stuff's organized and cleaned up, and there's not junk laying all over the place, that has a lot to do with it too, because you don't want to appear to be just a rinky-dink organization, So I got a sense of urgency, and then we pulled it off. We took them for a tour yesterday. It was really pleasant, really nice, and I think good things are going to come from that. Well, then, another thing happened today. That was over, and it was just business as usual. I'm bottling milk and fixing fences and managing the cattle at the same time because we had a breakout. So I'm going two different directions. I'd come in the house for something. Phone rings. Yo. Oh, this is so-and-so from the Cadillac newspaper, she says. We understand that you're a raw milk provider, and we'd kind of like to come out and do a little bit of a story on that. And at first I was kind of, I don't know, because the media usually, more than likely, is going to push an agenda that's not consistent with what the people want. That's my experience, having dealt with the media for about 4 years while we went through the pig struggle. You can tell them one thing, but they'll write something completely different. And even though the reporter might be a nice, sincere person, it's got to make it through the editors. And what are the editors there for? You got to ask that. And you don't know, but I've had some bad experiences with them. So I was about ready to say no. And I thought, why not ask a few questions? So I did. I said, so whose idea is it to do this? Or did you just think of it and think that it would be a good human interest thing? And she says, no, it was my idea. All right. I wonder where she got the idea. Had to be something. She didn't just wake up and say, hey, I think we ought to do something on raw milk. No. There was a post yesterday, RFK put it up, and he is gutting the FDA. And there was a bunch of items that he annotated. There was psychedelics was one of them. There was a whole bunch of stuff. And then raw milk was one. And raw milk almost didn't fit in with the other things. But FDA has been really hard on raw milk. And you really have to ask the question, why? They say that we're the FDA and we're concerned with the health of the American public. Yeah, right. So I thought about it as quickly as I could because she seemed to be in a bit of a rush. She wanted to come this afternoon, but that wasn't going to work. And so I put her off till tomorrow morning. So 9 o'clock tomorrow, she's going to show up here. And as I've been thinking, I could always punch out. I could always say, change my mind. But as I thought about it, I thought either way they go, let's say they do a pretty good hit piece on it, it will still make the paper. And I think there's a good chunk of people out there that don't care what the FDA, the MDA, or the USDA says. They disregard them. And that's because of how they have been. You know, they're pretty transparent. Like you can see through their lies. And the public got a good education during the Wu flu, you know, trust the science and all that stuff. You know, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to do it. Maybe of a bottle of raw milk and Baker's Green Acres will wind up in the paper. Maybe. And maybe a lot of good will come from it. Maybe we'll get inundated with herd shares. So all of a sudden, with this phone call, now there's a sense of urgency. Oh, I got to have this place looking good. I mean, I want to put my best foot forward and approach this as though it could be a really good thing. But there was this little voice that's saying, man, they can chew you up and spit you out. You know, she could take a picture of a pile of dog manure that's laying around someplace and say, this is Baker's Green Acres. It could, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I think the media has lost the trust of the American people, and I think maybe there's a chance that they're trying to gain that trust back. Maybe. But either way, I'm going to do it. So 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, she's going to show up, and I'll just take it as it comes, see where it goes, and then we'll see. You know, I don't hide what I do here. I'm not flying under the radar by any means. And if what I was doing was illegal, I would not do it. You know, maybe I'll get a chance to talk to her about the use of words like the word illegal and the words against the rules and the difference between those things. Maybe we'll see. But through that whole thing, I thought, okay, here's a question that I need to ask myself. How can I, without any outside stimulation, capture a sense of urgency? How can I get that feeling going in me? There's a sense of urgency here to get this done. I mean, I'm supposed to work 8 hours a day, right? It's not like I'm a retired guy or anything. So how do I fill in that 8 hours a day with productive, meaningful work? Most of the time, I don't have a problem with it. Most of the time, I don't. But I think maybe on hot days, I do a little bit. You know, I don't have hay hanging over my head or anything like that. So anyway, I thought that was something that I think we all need to, and I don't have solutions necessarily. Sometimes if a big storm is coming in, I get a real good sense of urgency, real good sense, you know, especially if we're low on firewood or something like that. Ooh, we got to get going here. But I think at this stage of the game, why I may be having a struggle with this is because we got 21 years worth of work into this place, and a lot of the operations that are up and running are just running, and they don't need a lot of input. They just don't. And that is good. That is good. So maybe the lack of sense of urgency is just a stage of success, something like that, you know, successful, good decisions after many bad decisions. And now we've got good decisions happening, and the programs are working, and they're kind of working without my intense scrutiny. Maybe, don't know. I can always think about, hey, winter's coming, you know, and envision what it's like here on a cold winter day when the wind's blowing and the snow is up high, and, you know, get busy. That's it. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight, a sense of urgency and how we maintain a sense of urgency on a daily basis. That's it. I'm kind of asking the questions. Let's see what we got here for input. Not much. Right Place Plans. I bet you I know who that is. You're going to be drying your cow off soon, probably. So maybe you want to pick up your herd share again. That would be nice. Sarah at Hold the Line Homestead. Here. Okay. Scott Sano's with us. Jay-Z's with us. I was over in your neck of the woods today, Jay-Z, over at Zilka Flats. Brian Jacobs with us. People that bring pie, yes. Brian Jacobs says, have your own recordings. Keith retracted a message. What is that? Had a goat get loose and I'm back. Have a female in heat. Hey, I got somebody looking for a female goat that she can milk. My sister-in-law, my favorite sister-in-law. And I'm trying to pawn off that goat that we got, that female on her. She'd be great, I say. Oh, what an addition to your family. What a good family building, team building activity for your family. You live in town and you have a goat. That'd be great. But I don't know if they're going to go for it. My brother-in-law is kind of worried about that. So we'll see what happens. All right, that's it. I'm in 32 minutes and I've kind of given you my message. I really appreciate everybody coming on an off night. I don't really have a lot to, is it anybody else got anything that they want to talk about? I'm kind of done for the day, kind of wore out, I guess. I don't really look that way, but I'm feeling that way, sort of. Got in the pool right before I came on just to put on a clean shirt and get cooled off. It was warm here today. Let's see, everything's going good here. The milking operation's going good. Pigs are going good. We know what we have going this fall as far as butchering. And when we don't really have that much this fall. So I think we're going to bear down on some construction projects as well. Gee, I'm at a loss for words. That doesn't happen much. Let's see, I got to talk to Keith. Keith has a real nice diesel tank that he wants to trade me for something. I have a nice sandblasting tank I can trade you for it. Really nice one. Oh yeah. Okay. The right place plans. I messaged you on Facebook, but when do you put the calf back in the herd? Well, if it's a heifer, you're going to want to keep her out for a while, probably 6 months. Yeah, you don't want her to get back in there and then start sucking off her mom again. So make sure you have another place so you can keep her. And you're going to want probably put a halter on her and then put a tether on her and then have Jonathan build you a step-in picket, it's called. So just if you can get a piece of sucker rod, I don't know if you know what that is. I can show you when you come here how we make them. And then your calf becomes your little lawnmower, and you're just going to have to keep her out of sight of mama. And as soon as that calf hits the ground, you go out there and pull mama in and start milking her. And then when mama's in, you go out and get the calf and bring her someplace else. And then that first milking goes in a bottle, and then you put that bottle right in calf's mouth about a few hours afterwards. Doesn't have to be really soon but now it could happen where she calves at night and the calf actually sucks once or twice. And in that case, it's going to be a little tougher to get the calf away. So the quicker you can get the calf away, the better. Calf sharing, I don't think it's what you want to do. I don't think you want to do that. Some people swear by it, but we've tried it and no, it's not good. Because then how do you get the calf away from mom? If the calf's been on mom for 2 weeks, you'll have a real time of it to get that calf away. But if you take the calf away, and when the calf kind of comes out of its stupor of just being plopped out in the earth, and you're the one that's putting a bottle in its mouth, then it'll bond to you. And then you'll be able to pet it and love on it, and it'll want to be around you and stuff. Otherwise, that wouldn't be the case. That wouldn't be the case. When you take that calf from its mother after a week or 2 weeks, that calf hates you. And that cow hates you too. You took my baby. So you don't want to do that. You want to take it right away. Right away. You can go on the internet and you can read all about calf sharing and how great it is. But wow, you're going to have some sleepless nights because both calf and mom are going to be bellowing at each other for a couple of nights. And if calf gets back to mom, which that's all that calf is going to be thinking about doing, is getting back to mom and mom getting to the calf. So you got to have a clear separation between them and a good one that they can't get through. But if it happens, it'll happen again and again. And now you've got a bad situation on your hands. At that point, you're going to want to probably get that calf and bring it someplace else, somebody else to bottle it, which is a hassle. So talk about sense of urgency. Funny. There's lots of things that can make us feel like there's an urgent need to get our homesteads up and running. And they don't have to be the world's going to end. It can just be, I'm going to need some food. So I got to do this. Because if I don't do this, I'm going to have to fall back on a system that's, it's kind of a fake system, really. And so if you decided to get out and do your own food, now is the time. Have a sense of urgency right now. Just have it. Maybe tell yourself every day, hey, we got to get this done. We've got to get organized here. Oh, that was the right place plan. Very funny. Very funny. Yeah, that's it. That's all I get to talk about tonight. That's about it. Maybe because it's not Tuesday night. I'm not just full of wisdom today. I can talk a little bit about the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus, which I think is a pretty good deal. It has not caught on as well as I thought it would. We have quite a few people in Tribe Plus, and so they're paying. It's a subscription. They're paying every month, and it comes out to about 40 or 50 cents a day. And included with that is probably the secret sauce is the Wednesday night consulting call. So when you have a question like Right Place had there, that's the place to bring questions like that. And then we can talk about that in detail. I can go to the blackboard and draw you a picture of a picket and what we make it out of and how we attach it and all that stuff in detail. That's what that's for. That's consulting. That's if you had the ear of a good homesteader, a good farmer, somebody that's had a level of success that you can ask questions to, and you're going to get a detailed answer. So if you want that, I would have liked to have had something like that when I started out, at least to get an idea of the direction that I'm going. Then join up the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus, and it's a subscription, so you're actually paying me for consulting. Every other Wednesday night we do a Zoom call, and when it gets to be big, which I thought it would be quite big, then we go every Wednesday night. every Wednesday night. And that's fine with me. I set aside an hour or so to answer questions in detail. No problem. That makes a serious impact. And it doesn't take, you know, paying me to come to your farm to see what you got and ask questions there, because that's expensive. And it has to be, because my time here is valuable, because we're creating wealth here, just in off the land and through the processes. And that's the point, really, should be the point of this show, is to say, hey, this is available. And this is why it's important to you. Because if you have a piece of land and you're willing to homestead, it's profitable. But it doesn't just, dollars don't come out of the soil. You have to coax them out. You have to, come up with a plan. And usually the plan that you come up with, if you don't have experience, it's kind of hit or miss. I want to raise rainbow ponies. Okay, but nobody wants to buy rainbow ponies. So is that a good one, Mark? Is that a good one? Well, probably not, because many people have tried that and it hasn't worked out. But here is a good one, and then we can go into what works. There's a lot of things that work in homesteading, a lot of things. And there is a lot of opportunity, because there's so few people that actually go for it and that are able to overcome this fear. And then there's, they become apprehensive because they fear that they don't have what it takes to do it. And when you sit down and talk to somebody and they just kind of break it down into the components, can you do this? Oh yeah, I can do that. Can you do this? Oh yeah, I can do that. This. And when we put them all together, all of a sudden you're milking a cow. And now I'll just use Right Place for an example. What was it, 6 months ago is when I met them, and then they were like, I kind of like to milk my own cow. And I just said, pretty matter of fact, well, you can do it. You can certainly do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I don't have special powers. And it took a little convincing, a little coaxing, a little bit. But now she is milking her own cow. Her and her husband are milking a cow, and their kids are drinking the milk from their own cow. I saw pictures today of when they got the cow, and then a couple months later, the way the cow looks now, and she's filled out. She looks good. She was a little on the scrawny side when she came, but she was coming out of a place where they milk twice a day, and they're really only there to get milk. She didn't have a name, I don't think. Now she's got a name, and now she's got people that love her. Where before, I don't think they loved her. They just wanted her milk. I could be wrong. Maybe she was loved. I could be wrong about that. But so I think that's the essence of consulting, is to kind of walk you through it a little bit and get you launched on it. And then when you run into a problem, which you will, you can come back and say, well, I did that, but I got this. Oh, that's because you did this and this and this. You're going to want to shift it slightly over this way and do this, and you'll be okay. So that's, to me, that would be an invaluable service. And I thought that the Tribe Plus would see a lot more people taking advantage of it. But maybe I just haven't laid out in enough detail of what it is and what a consulting call looks like. I really like them. I have a fun time. It's a Zoom call, so your picture's there and the other people's picture's there, and they can ask a question, or they can say, hey, I did this. Why is it not doing what I wanted it to do? And a lot of times there's people there that know more about these things than I do, and they go into much more detail about the specifics of what they know, and it's pretty good. And then it spawns conversations offline, like, Ann Putnam brought into our life DSMO. We did not know what that was. And then we started using it. And now we have really gone down the rabbit hole. We had a guy speaking here on Tribe Day about DMSO, and it is some amazing stuff. And a few other things that are also quite amazing. So, okay. Oh, the right place. This thing, it still gets me emotional to think of the journey and how you and Jill were part of it. Yeah. That's really, it's a neat thing, isn't it? I mean, and that's really what life is all about. It's the mountains that you choose to climb, and then getting to the top and sticking your flag right in there and say, I got this one. And then you wind up saying, what's the next one? And what's the next one? Before you know it, I mean, sometimes I walk around this place and I remember what it was like when we got it. We could not even live in the house. It was so bad. We had to stay in a tent for quite a while. And the barn coming down and the mess every place where our garden was, that was just full of all junk that had accumulated over many, many years. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then we just took it a little at a time. And a little at a time. And that was back in the days when I would very easily be working here for about a 12 and then come in and eat and go back out. And it wasn't like I was forcing myself to go out. I just wanted to go back out. We had little kids then too. So there was little kids in the house, and being in the house with all them little kids, it was a lot more peaceful outside. So, and I don't really do that as much anymore. I definitely don't stay out till midnight anymore. About 9 or 10 o'clock is it. And then I'm in. Yeah. So if there's nothing else, yeah, where do I find Tribe Plus? Yeah, it's on the website, bakersgreenacres.com. No, it's not Facebook. Facebook is the Facebook Tribe page, but to get on Tribe Plus, it is, you find that on bakersgreenacres.com. And you got to look around. I've not been there in a long time. I don't routinely go on my own website, but yeah, I am feeling like we are just scratching the on this raw milk thing. For just to kind of fill in some things. I don't think that we're going to be focusing like we have in the past on education the way we were doing it. Like we were doing a class, we'd put it out there, hey, we're having a class, and it's going to be on this day, and it's a 3-day class, and it's $750 a seat, and we're going to kill pigs. And we don't think we're going to do that anymore, because we've done it for many years, like over, I think this would be our 15th year. So 14 years we've done that way of, this is how it's going to be, but I think this is a direction more personalized format. So as you know, when I rebuilt the milk house, we put an apartment above it. And so the idea with that is we're going to accept requests. It's not going to be whoever shows up with the dollars, because we're more interested now in specializing in people who have a sense of urgency and are serious about it. And I believe that, let's say somebody wants to come here and say, okay, I want to start up a dairy. I want to have a 10-cow dairy. I want to distribute the milk. I want to live that life. Well, what better way would there be is if you slept in the barn with the cows got up in the morning, milked the cows with us. We get you started, and then we kind of step back, get all the milk in jars, get it to where it goes, and then it's lunchtime. Then we sit down and we talk. We have something to eat. We sit down and we talk, and we take questions one-on-one. And then if there's a question where I have to say, okay, come here, I'll show you. I will show you how this works, right? Because milking cows is not brain surgery, but it's got a longer list of components that all fit together. And we know very well that if one of those components fails, it can snafu the whole operation for the day. And then you have to stop and resolve that and go from there. So in order for you to really be an effective person that can go out, put together a facility, acquire the cattle, build the fences, get your feed source down, and then operate, you really need to be immersed in it for a couple of days. You really do. And I think it would be more productive for us to do it that way. If we have 12 or 14 people in a class and we're going to shoot pigs, cut them down the middle, and then run through it real quick. Okay, this is how you cut one up, and this is how you salt them. It's quick, even though it's 3 days and there's 12 people there. So it's not as personal, and it has worked out good, not great. Not great. If I had 100% of the people that came to that class killed a pig the next weekend and ran through the process, then I would consider it an immense success. But we haven't had that kind of success. We've had good success. We've had a good number of people that have done that. And even some of them have gone on to reteach it, right? Were they ready to do it? I'm not sure. After taking the class once and then teaching it, I'm not sure. I don't know if I would have been. And so I'm not, not taking anything away from anybody, but like if you design a course and you want to, create actually special forces operators here, can you do that in a class of 12 in a few hours? They may be functional, but are they going to be the seed that we plant out there in the community? Because we're in sort of a struggle against industrial agriculture. I don't think they're necessarily evil. I think there's evil people within them, especially when it comes to like stomping out the competition. I think that's kind of evil. And then like the Department of Agriculture, that who knows what's going on with them, but they got a lot of weird people. But when you put somebody out on the fruited plain that has a thorough and complete understanding of an operation, that is a force to be reckoned with. And that's what I want to place out there. So in the course of there's 52 weeks in a year, let's say we've got somebody staying in the milk house for the weekend, 52 weeks a year, and we put 52 people out there that are special forces operators, cow milkers. That is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think that's going to be far more effective. Like, I don't think that the way to do this is just to sling mud at the USDA and MDA. I mean, I do my fair share of it, but I don't think it does any good. Not really. No, not really. I don't think it does. I don't think that's the answer. I see people who are big in the small farms movement, people who get, $7,000-$10,000 to speak to a crowd of people about farming. And most of their act is telling you how bad these organizations are. And they're just government organizations. Nobody there really cares. They're there for the paycheck. And where does it go? I mean, that's been going on I've been watching that going on for 10 years. And what's come of it? I don't see much has come of it. I think more comes from getting people trained up and patting them on the rear end and saying, now go do this. And they're another one out there that's doing the thing. Do the thing, you'll have the power, right? It doesn't say smear the enemy, then you'll have the power. You think of the man from Nazareth, right? I don't remember him saying, oh, them guys over there, we need to do away with those guys. We need to defund those guys. Those guys are jerks. The U.S. I don't think that was his method. His method was speaking to people, and they'd say, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then he said, follow me. Follow me. So I think that's a better way of sort of planting. I kind of think about church planting. I heard that a long time ago, and they'd come to a town, they'd set up a tent, have a great big thing, but then they'd take the tent down, they go away, and it's like, well, nothing much came of that, So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Mike Finn. I haven't seen that name in a long time, and I know you're in Florida. And you're saying, I lost a few customers because of this week. What are you talking about? Because I heard something went on in Florida having to do with raw milk, but I don't know what that was. Huh. I would like to know what that is, if you can point me in the right direction or just say something about it. All right. Cheyenne's saying, but of course they have been trying to give a bad name to raw milk for far longer, so maybe people are getting Yeah, this gal on the phone, she said, well, I am a journalist, so I have to talk both sides. I want to get your side, but there's also what the scientists are saying. The scientists. All right. Yeah. Like Anthony Fauci, maybe. All right. It's too bad that they're in the place where we just don't believe you anymore. We'd like to, we really like to defer to people who have dedicated their lives to being smart and, being scientists. But too many of you have been on the take, it seems like, and either been afraid to speak out, or they just cherry pick from the ones that do the company line. And unfortunately, we just don't believe you anymore. It's almost like if you say, don't drink raw milk, we say, I want to drink raw milk. Like, never tell a young boy not to put a pea up his nose. Never. Okay, something happened in Florida. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but anytime the Department of Agriculture, whether it's the U.S. Department of Agriculture or even FDA, Food and Drug Administration, when they put something out that's scary, when the first emotion that you get when you read the story is fear, oh, that could happen to me, or, oh, raw milk, somebody drank it and they went blind. If the first thing they put out is fear, you kind of know where they're going. News article claiming 21 people got sick from raw milk. Okay, I'll try and find that. Yeah. Well, so what? I mean, it's a private deal. If I sell raw milk to Cheyenne Wright and she gets sick from it, I'm sure she'll come back and say, this milk made me sick. And then I got to do some figuring out why that happened and get it resolved. But is the Florida Department of Agriculture going to come out and put out a big story about, a cabbage recall that has E. coli on it because the workers are defecating in the fields? No, they won't. They definitely have an agenda, and it's usually works in the favor of industrial agriculture. I mean, no joke. That's the way it works. But who cares? So 21 people got sick. Am I supposed to shut my operation down? Because somebody had a bird flu? No. They'd like you to. All right, I'm going to get going. I appreciate everybody coming by. Get out there and get a sense of urgency. Remember, anyone can farm, and it's up to you. Get out there and feed your families and press on with life with pride. All right. Good night. Remember, anyone can farm.